Welcome to Cultivating Courage, a podcast exploring fear, courage, and stepping into a life filled with purpose, connection, and love. In this week's episode, Matt and I are chatting about how having too much fun can sometimes feel a little dangerous. We're also talking about how things outside our comfort zone can turn into fun. And flexing the fun muscle. What? Stay tuned. Welcome to another episode of Cultivating Courage. We are glad you're here. And by we, I mean me, Kristin Robinson, one of your hosts.
And also me, Matt Maxwell, the other one of your hosts.
Yeah, man. So we're excited because it's been a while since we've recorded. You guys don't know that because, you hear from us every week. But it's been a bit.
It's been a couple of months.
Yeah. And I didn't know how much I missed it until I was sitting on my couch waiting for Matt and James to come over. I was like, when are they going to get here?
We're going to record some new episodes today.
Yeah. And it's been a bit since we've done episodes, just the two of us.
Yeah.
It's a big day.
Yeah. And I would really like to pretend like this was very intentional, but honestly, we just didn't know we were going to record until yesterday. And so we didn't get any guests. So you guys get the great pleasure of just hearing from the two of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Mostly we don't know anybody that can just show up on a Saturday with less than 24 hours notice.
Yeah. I didn't try hard enough, I guess.
I didn't try at all, to be perfectly honest.
So here we are. And that means that you guys get the
Tell us, Matt, what do they get?
I lost my words already. You get the great pleasure fortune.
Oh, fortune.
The fortune. Maybe God's involved, maybe not.
It's hard to say.
But
do you guys want us to do a whole episode on whether or not God's involved in this episode?
Oh, man. That's coming in month and a half. We got to do a joke episode first. We could actually do that.
First the jokes.
Is God involved in this episode?
Is there a joke in that topic?
Yeah, there are lots of them. Definitely. Actually, it's really great that we're having this kind of meaningless conversation in front of you because what I would like to do, Kristin's meh on this idea, but I think it would be really great to do an episode about fun. Yeah.
I'm not meh. I'm just not enrolled in the full vision of what it is that we're
what
talking
this episode
about.
could be.
Exactly.
I don't know.
And that's part of the fun.
Yeah.
Well, for some people. For other people, unknown is not fun.
Can we let them know a little bit about our process for these episodes?
I don't know what you mean, but yes, let's.
We usually don't know what the episode's going to be about until it's over.
That's true.
Maybe they already know that.
Do you guys know that? I don't know. Leave a comment.
Yeah, leave a comment. Let us know how obvious it is that we're pretty much always winging it. But what we've found is that usually really cool stuff comes out of that.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have an idea of what we want to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, when we have guests, one of us generally knows enough about the guests to think oh, this would be cool to kind of maybe go this direction with it. But then sometimes we go that direction and sometimes we don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we just go to some awesome new unexplored place.
Yeah.
So here's what I imagine in this episode. And then we'll see what happens. But there is some precious role which fun can play in a human life.
I agree.
In our experience, in our existence. I think some people have a really powerful relationship with fun. I think probably most of us originally did.
Yes.
Such that it is still there if we wanted it to be, and may have been mostly squashed out to varying degrees.
Yes. So
I thought it would be fun to explore and invite you and us to look at what is our relationship with fun? How often is it a part of our life? How do we break through such that it can be more of our life if we want it to be? Just kind of explore topics around that. And I've had some interesting experiences recently that kind of come to mind. But my vision is that this gives me and you and you who is listening the chance to just really reflect on where is fun currently in my life? And how could I expand that in ways that would add to my life experience?
Yeah, totally. I love that. Well, I just started reading this book called The Big Leap. And one of the things that, I'm not that far into it, but one of the things that it talks about is how kind of like your fleas and the jumping, that we're all conditioned to like only be happy at a certain level. And then once we've reached that level of happiness, we do something because it's so uncomfortable to be that happy to wreck it. But if we could just get comfortable and agree that like,
it is actually okay to be that happy
all the time, and perhaps even be happier, and to just maintain a level of the happiest you can be all the time. And maybe there's something in the world of fun there too.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I don't know if your book explores this, but what I've experienced as I've done just some like really deep personal work is that there is actually a fear associated with being consistently deeply happy.
Yeah.
And I think part of that was I got in trouble sometimes when I was having fun or when I was really happy. And some of the lesson I took from that when I was really little was that it's not safe to be this happy or have this much fun.
Yep. It does kind of explore that. I'm not like super far into the book, but they did touch on that at the beginning. Yeah.
And I'm sure there's like a ton of psychological research around that, but it's just been my own experience that discomfort is actually a fear of like, this isn't safe.
Yeah.
Because
I'm going to get in trouble
at some
for
point I got
this.
in trouble.
Yeah.
When I was having a blast. In fact, that's going to be too sad of a story. Oh,
no, we're having
the
fun. Where does stop crying?
I want to tell you about how I stopped having fun when I was a kid. Okay, cool. No, we won't do that. But I'll tell you this fun story some other time. If you send me a little private message, I'll tell you this funny story about my childhood that kind of was actually really sad. But
anyway,
funny too.
So tell us where fun is showing up in your life currently, Matt.
Well, so my current experience of life is that nearly everything is outside of my comfort zone. Basically, in every area of my life, I'm outside of what feels comfortable. In my business, my coaching work, where I'm kind of taking Hearthstone and finishing my book and stuff that we've talked about in prior episodes, in my relationship world, even just like exploring where my home's going to be. There's just like a lot of like, it's where I want to go, and it's I'm like totally on the path I want to be on, and I'm frequently like, oh
yeah, it's both exciting and terrifying.
This is very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And there's certain moments where my brain's screaming like, what are you doing? This isn't safe. It's not okay. So there is a way in which I've heard someone actually say that this is what is it? Sua has said, some unknown authority. There's also like Sue, which is some unknown expert, has said that biologically, when they do like brain scans and like monitor our body's reactions to things, that it's from those scans, they cannot actually distinguish what we refer to as fear or excitement.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
It's like the exact same body
also
sensation.
read that.
Yeah, then it must be true. We have both read it.
Yep.
And now you've heard it. And so
now
between the three of us,
it's no longer unknown experts. It's Matt and Kristin.
Yes.
Said so.
I heard these podcast hosts say this, so it must be true. Well, whether or not it's true, it's fun to look at. What am I actually experiencing in my body? And maybe this is fun. So I had an experience of this. Last week I was in New York, and I helped to lead a coach training program in New York. And one of the requirements to be a part of the leadership team for that training is that you have to have a certain number of clients, which I fell below.
Yes.
So that made me unqualified to continue on the team. And they were basically all like, you have to go out there and get hired. So all week I was like, all right, what's next? How do I the particular circumstances meant I didn't have enough clients to qualify. And so I did some things that actually have led to being hired. And I also was just kind of thinking outside the box.
Mm-hmm.
So on one of the days, I printed these huge posters.
Uh-huh.
On the front, it said, I haven't posted this on social media, but I may post it just because it's so freaking scary, but it was also fun.
Mm-hmm.
On one side of this big poster, I printed, got like a nice printed poster that said, lawyers, you do not have to be miserable anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like, Hearthstone, this is hearthstone.com, contact us for a free coaching session. And on the back, the other poster, it said, fall in love with your work again, in big, huge letters. And contact us for a free coaching session. And I had these little postcards, and I put it on like the sandwich board.
Yeah, like a sandwich board. Uh-huh.
And actually walked around. I went to the largest law firm in New York City.
Oh my gosh.
And walked around the block on the bottom, like where their building is.
Did you do it right at like lunch hour?
No, I wanted to, but because I did it right up until lunch hour would have been awesome.
Yeah.
I had to leave, but I stood out there for like an hour and a half with these postcards, and it was like Avenue of the Americas. Lots of people walking by. Some of them were surely lawyers, and I felt entirely ridiculous, like so utterly. It was so outside of my comfort zone when I walked out with the posters on my like body. Of course, it helps that it's in New York,
right? And there's lots of nuts there.
I don't know as many people in New York as I do in Chicago, and there's like so many crazy, and there's a lot of foreigners that are just like, oh, this must be what
this is America.
Yeah, this makes sense. This makes sense. But like entirely outside of my comfort zone. Just crazy.
Yeah.
It's something that there's a conditioned Matt that never would ever do that.
Yeah.
And it was so fun. The whole time I was just like, this is crazy. This is crazy. Here I am handing out posters, and I could see people's expressions as they walk by, and some of them would kind of like read it and then kind of laugh, and almost no one talked to me. But the guy did come up to me and he's like, it shouldn't just say lawyers. You should have one for bankers and for accountants and for
everyone.
Yes. Like just line
workers.
Up the street.
Yeah. Not just lawyers, workers. You don't have to be miserable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it really is for everybody. It's just that as a former lawyer, it makes sense for me to work with lawyers, among other clients. But it was just so outside of my comfort zone. And luckily, it was also on my birthday, incidentally. Happy birthday, Matt. Thank you. It was fun. You know, and looking back, I'm like, that was just crazy. I can't believe I did that with all those people walking by, and kind of vulnerable, but also fine. And also the message underlying it was really cool to be like a stand for it.
Yeah.
And I could feel it even coming back to me, like, you don't have to be miserable anymore. So it was just this delightful, out of my comfort zone experience that I could have just sat in the fear, but it just became fun.
Yeah.
Because it was so crazy.
Yeah. I like it.
Cool, huh? Okay. So here's some of the questions I have about fun.
Okay.
For us to look at and for listeners.
Some inquiries.
Yes. One is, why is it, or how is it? It's probably how is it that some things occur as not fun and other things occur as fun?
Interesting. And I think it could even be the same thing. Sometimes occurs as fun. And sometimes occurs as not.
Yeah, exactly. So where does that come from? I think sometimes we think there are things out there that are fun to do, and other things that are not. And like when I'm on stage acting, it's really hard for me not to have fun. So I actually think there are some things. What is it for you? What are the things that are like just automatically fun?
Hanging out with my friends, having like
friends,
like odd but good conversations, like exploring not the weather but bigger topics. That's always fun for me.
I'm imagining it's pretty hard for you not to be having fun if you're drinking a margarita.
Fact.
I'm just imagining, like, happy hour Kristin with a margarita is like 97% chance.
And it doesn't even have to be a margarita. I mean, I'll be honest.
Okay, good. Any kind of drink.
Glass of wine, old fashioned.
So it's fun. I think it is fun
Yeah.
for us to actually look at, where do I still have access to fun?
So this is an interesting topic for me because I feel like almost always I'm having fun.
Oh.
Yeah.
Even at work?
Well, now, I mean, not so much at work once upon a time, but even when I most hated my job, I didn't necessarily hate my job, and I loved the women that I worked with. And so even though my job wasn't fun, I wouldn't have classified it like that. Going to work had the possibility of fun.
Yeah. And then there were moments that you hated it.
Absolutely.
And like all of us, probably moments where we're like working and it's like, I don't want to do this, and it just stinks. And sometimes that's just at work, and other times that feels like our whole life.
Yeah. Oh, like cleaning my apartment. Not fun.
Not fun?
No.
And yet, do you have moments where you turn on some dance music?
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And all of a sudden it's like, I'm moving my body and doing the dishes and doing a little sweeping.
Yeah.
And it's so fun.
I wonder if we could hypothesize that it's not fun until we take action. Like you were saying, kind of like with your sandwich board. It wasn't fun, but once you started doing it, it was fun. Cleaning my apartment is not fun, but once I start doing it, I really don't mind it, and it can be fun.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
maybe there's something
it's like the
around
story that I'm
action.
telling about the thing that has it occur as not fun.
Yeah.
And that's more likely to be paid attention to
when
I'm not actually doing
anything.
So it's looking at the day ahead where I'm like, oh gosh, this is going to be awful.
Yeah.
When I actually sit down to do it, maybe that story is still there, but I'm not paying attention to it as much.
Right.
I'm just doing.
Yeah.
And when my attention's on the activity, there's not as much of a story that would keep me from enjoying it.
Having fun. Yeah.
I think it's, as we're talking, I'm just present to, some of the messages I got about fun where it felt scary. There's sometimes where I'm having so much fun and it's like, oh gosh, this probably isn't going to last, or there must be something I'm doing wrong or something.
Yeah.
My mom told me this story, which I think is true, and it feels true.
Then it must be.
It must be.
I feel like our next episode is going to be an episode on truth.
What actually should we be quoting? But I do believe this one, even though there's lots of studies about how flawed our memories are. The essence of this story feels true to me, which is that when I was little, we were on some trip, and I don't know if it was planned or not, but for some reason, we checked into a Holiday Inn.
Ooh, was it a holodome? Do you remember those? I loved holodomes.
No, I don't.
I'm having a feeling of like fun and excitement thinking about, because we spent often our family vacations, we ended up at a Holiday Inn.
Oh, is that
and they
right?
were holodomes with so they had this whole like tennis courts and pool and like this whole like kind of play area.
That's cool.
Which was awesome.
I don't think it was like that, because this story wouldn't be as good if it was.
Sorry,
but also
continue.
because my dad worked at Marriott. My dad's a career hotel manager, and so staying at a Holiday Inn was like, we were used to staying at Marriott.
bummer.
So pretty spoiled. I wasn't spoiled in all ways, but definitely with hotels I was. Anyways, we check into this Holiday Inn, and I'm just like a little boy, and I think it was some weird circumstance, 'cause like my whole family had to stay in like one little room, and my mom reports that we got there, and I started running up and down the halls, and I was like, this is gonna be fun. Because I was so excited for the hallway.
Right.
Maybe there was a pool.
Yeah.
Whatever it was. I think about that a lot because I travel so much and I check into hotels quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I do still kind of get this excited pleasure when I check into a new hotel, but I'm like, I don't have that same reaction anymore.
Right.
Not to that degree.
Right.
And I love it because I think there is, for me, it really resonates. And I think for most people, like we have a child here who is excited by life.
Yes.
Excited by all the things, everything, looking outside, people, the experiences, whatever, new places, old places. There is like a being of fun,
yes,
of exploration of the unknown that I think is inherent to me, but I'm projecting is inherent to most of us.
I would agree that for most people, there is an inner child that is really pretty much all day like, hey, let's have some fun. Hey.
Yeah, well, we may have
like,
suppressed it so
fun.
far that it's like, please, could we have some fun?
Or it might be like that. Yeah, some people's is probably like that. Mine is definitely like tugging on my leg, like, hey, you want to go have fun? Let's have fun.
Yeah, I love that. So, what
but
do you
as
do?
adults,
Then
we
what
have
do you
to.
do?
Well, as adults, you have to like tell the kid, like, well, now's not the right time for fun. We got to be serious.
That's what
which
we're
is kind of a
conditioned to
bummer.
tell it,
yeah.
right?
But we can choose. It's everything's a choice. So, I mean, I like to think, for me, I say yes more than I say no to fun. I try and follow fun, I think.
Oh yeah, totally. You laugh a lot.
I do.
Yeah.
I think life is as hard and this is a broad generalization, and I understand that there are circumstances in some people's lives that would not allow for this, but like I really think that life is as hard and serious as you want to make it, or it's as fun and full of adventure as you want it to be.
Yeah.
Like I think it's a matter of either retraining your brain or looking at things from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Which often is easier said than done, but it's like anything, like you start with the 5-pound weight and then you move up to the 8-pound weight and then the 10-pound weight, and you just get better and better and stronger at looking at life through this new lens of fun or adventure or whatever it is.
Yeah, I love that. There's a few things come to my mind as you say that. One is that one of the default paradigms. So there is a certain perspective, like we're on this little rock in the middle of nowhere, circling this little bright object that's, and we like zoom out and look at the galaxies in the universe and go like,
why?
I'm one of
how?
Many billions of people. It's meaningless. I come and go, a few years from now, none of us will be around. It's pointless.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I look at life that way, it seems kind of sad.
Yes.
I'm like, but here I am and I want to matter. And so one of the paradigms I've chosen, because we're all on these journeys and we have these emotions, and for whatever reason, I am attached to this particular organism and having the experience that this thing is having. So one of the paradigms that I've chosen is to hold things as sacred. That life is sacred and other humans are sacred and my life is sacred and the people listening are sacred and it matters. And that choice to see it that way may not be true, but I like living life from this does matter. Yep. And it's sacred.
Yeah.
There's a like experience that generates that I really love. other paradigm that I've become aware of, it's like yin yang, and I think you can actually hold these both at the same time, is that nothing is sacred. Nothing is sacred. And that is like the paradigm of the trickster part of us, the fun, playful, we can laugh at anything.
Yep.
Even in dark times.
Yes.
We can still maybe hold that like nothing is sacred.
Yeah.
We're going to come and go. We're on this crazy rock. We can have fun with anything.
Yep. Nothing means anything. Yeah.
And from there, then we could make light. And it's, again, you can also hold things as sacred with that. So that to me is like the paradigm of fun. Maybe nothing is sacred.
Right.
And then I can just have fun with it, or laugh at the absurdity of it, or whatever. The other thing that is, you were talking about like the muscle, like exercising the muscle of fun. I've become aware that there's things that occur as not fun that I have to get through. Got to get through this day, got to get through this hour, got to get through the work day, got to get through this project, got to get through this whatever it is. Got to get through brushing my teeth.
Got to get through getting out of my bed.
Got to get through this episode. Just a few minutes left. Whatever it is, getting through this as just like a thing that's made up.
Yeah. Got to get through Thanksgiving with my family. I got to get through.
Yes. Whatever it is, get through this. I teach.
Which is not true, family. I love you.
No,
that was an example
we would never
for
get
other
through
people.
anything with you. No, it's pure joy, family.
It actually is for me, but.
Oh, okay, good. Oh yeah, right, for me too. What do you mean?
I think we just found another episode topic. Anyway.
Getting through Christmas vacation with the family.
The Griswold style.
Yeah. So there's a getting through this process. And it almost doesn't matter what I am doing. There are certain things that occur like they're miserable and I won't be happy till it's over. So I have to get through this. I've just got to endure it. And that completely closes me off to all the things that I could enjoy during that experience.
Yeah.
And actually, little Matt, the boy running through the Holiday Inn, probably wouldn't be getting through any of that.
Right.
He'd just be like, wow, what is this?
Yeah.
Okay. There's also kind of the flip side of that, which is I'm having fun. I'm doing something that occurs as enjoyable or pleasurable. And half of my brain, mental, emotional energy is about how short-lived it's going to be. What's coming after this? Well, yeah, this episode we're having fun.
Right.
But, later today I've got to respond to some emails and I've got to, this is fun.
Right. But
there's that stuff later that also kind of robs me of the pleasure that I could experience.
Being here.
In this moment. So for me, fun, that I can experience it more broadly when I'm just here, experiencing whatever there is to experience here and savoring whatever there is.
Yeah. Being open to the fun in any situation. Yeah.
And that's a muscle, like you were saying. I think that's just like a practice.
Yeah.
It's a practicing being of fun, no matter what I'm up to.
Yeah.
In things that occur as fun, like fully savoring it.
Yes.
And in things that don't currently occur as fun, see if I can expand. How could this occur that way to me?
Yeah.
And how could I be that?
And I know this episode is fun, like on the topic of fun, but it could be anything. Like, so being more expansive in your fun, being a fun or having fun, but it could be anything. It could be love. It could be just being more present. It could be peace, like whatever you're trying to create for yourself. It's a practice.
Yeah. I want to share something that's like a little bit of a more somber tone, but I think it's helpful for this topic.
Okay.
Which is, I found out a few weeks ago that one of my very close relatives has a really serious medical condition. And I won't describe any more than that for their sake, but it was very shocking and challenging. It still is. And when I found out, I was in Europe. And the day after I found out, I was on this hike in Italy in Cinque Terre, which is like one of the most beautiful places I've ever been, ocean and mountains and green.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like being with this, what seems to be awful news.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so far from my family, and I'm also in this like beautiful place. And this one hike I found was basically no one was there. It was just me and these beautiful hills and the ocean views, and went up to this beautiful church on this kind of mountaintop. And I remember feeling bad that I was enjoying the hike that much.
The whole time you were talking, I was thinking like the balance of how you should feel and maybe how you do feel, and being able to just really revel in what's around you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this moment where I was like, is it okay that I'm loving this hike so much?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know, I mean, I'm very upset about this news, and imagining some of the people in my life and how affected they are by it, and how distraught they must be. And basically I just had a moment where I could see that I had a choice. And I was like, I don't think it actually helps anyone for me to be miserable when I'm in this beautiful of a place right now.
Right.
And so I'm actually just going to choose to allow myself to enjoy this.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of times we collapse things being related when they're not. And so what occurs for me is you're in this beautiful place, and there's this happening over here with your family, but the two aren't related at all. They exist in the same world, your world, but they're actually not related at all.
Yeah, and there can be room for all of the emotion of that. And what I saw too was that my suffering doesn't really help anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's true when I'm on this beautiful hike, which was like so nourishing, when I started to just be like, it's okay to really love this. And I think it may even be true if I were the one with the medical condition.
Yeah.
So I think we have some cultural context around like, this would not be an okay time to feel joy.
Right.
And we're naturally feeling sadness. So it's not to say we should squash the other feelings that are there. But I think there is room for us in the darkest of places to still allow for joy.
Yep.
And I think like in death, and a lot of the people that love us, it's like they wouldn't want us to be miserable. Maybe they would expect some sadness, or, there's natural grief processes that we're not squashing.
Yes.
But even in really dark places, there can be the room for nothing sacred.
Yeah.
And it's okay to laugh when laughter comes.
Yes.
And we can have room for it all. We don't have to feel a certain way.
Right.
In whatever's coming up in challenging moments.
And we don't have to feel one single way. We can.
Exactly. And maybe it's every other minute is a different way. Yep. But allowing room for me, the biggest insight was I wouldn't actually be helping anyone by suppressing my joy right now. And what joy there is, I'm going to feel along with everything else.
Yes.
Somber enough?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, listeners, maybe just take a moment. Where is there more room for joy in your life?
More fun.
More fun. Maybe there's to look at when I'm having a lot of fun.
What am I doing?
Yeah, how am I
Who
being?
am I with? How am I being?
Such that I can expand that in those moments and also bring that to moments that don't usually seem like fun.
Yeah.
And let us know what you discover. I feel like fun's a journey humanity's on, and a lot of us have more access to it and a lot of us don't
have any access to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're all in this together.
Yeah. And tell us what areas you'd like to have more fun, and not just what's there for you around fun, but like, what could you actively take on creating?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye. Hey guys, thanks for listening. I'm Matt Maxwell. You can connect with me on LinkedIn or other social media, or learn about coaching with me at thisishearthstone.com. And please check out my book, How to Hold a Cockroach, now available through Amazon. You can connect with Kristin on Instagram at RobinsonKristin, that's Kristin, or find her upcoming workshops at thrivecoachingstudio.com. Please subscribe to us wherever you listen and leave a great review. And don't forget our practice for the week. Notice the areas of your life where you have a lot of fun, and notice where you're not having so much fun, and see if you can bring that level of fun into those areas where you don't usually have it. We'd love to hear how it goes in the comments section wherever you listen, or leave us a note at cultivatingcouragepodcast.com.